Hey guys, this is Golden927, and today I'm doing a discussion video on how to get the most out of your Yu-Gi-Oh experience. So I'm just going to give you guys a few pointers of how you can better enjoy the game. Just a few things that you can do just so then you're not finding yourself frustrating with this game. This is a very competitive game in a lot of different aspects, but it can still be a very fun game. So what I'm going to do is talk about ways that you can have fun while still getting better. Alright guys, probably the first thing that I've got for you is going to be practicing. A lot of players just put together a deck and they don't really practice it before they decide to go out and play with it or put it online. So what they'll do is they'll make a deck, and if you're not practicing with that deck, you're not going to know your combos, you're not going to know what works with the game, which is going to be frustrating because you're going to take a lot of losses if you're not practicing and trying to tweak the deck and make it better. So you definitely need to practice with the deck. If not, you're going to find yourself completely being disappointed on many occasions. So practicing is definitely one of the best things that you can do. That way you can improve your skills and get sharper. Another thing that you can do would be trying new decks out. A lot of players, they get complacent. They'll play the same one deck all the time. It can be a deck from 5 years old and they just won't give up that deck. They'll keep playing that deck, which, you know, I'm not opposed to. I'm all about the player making a deck that they're comfortable with and a deck that they like. But in order to enjoy the game, which is always evolving, I recommend trying out new decks. If you're not trying new decks, you're not going to know what's out there. You're not going to know how to face the newer decks that are out there if you're still playing your deck from Teledad format. So you need to experience new decks and give new decks a shot. And, you know, even I myself, I do this. I do deck profiles for different decks. There are more decks that I want to build for you guys, but you definitely need to try new decks out. Even the meta decks. A lot of people online, they give a lot of grief to people that play meta decks. So people that hate Monarchs and Cosmo, PK Fire and Pendulums, they get a lot of hate, and I don't really understand why that is. Sure, there are certain decks that I don't care for, but if you don't play these decks, you're not going to know completely what they're capable of. If you're planning on going to a tournament with a non-meta deck, you're not going to know how to face these decks because you don't know what they're made of. So I do recommend trying new decks and, you know, playing something that is meta, at least for once. Because if you know and understand how different decks work, you'll know how to combat them and be able to counter them a lot better. So it's going to improve your side decking. So definitely give new decks a shot. That way you can evolve as a player, and then maybe take your non-meta deck and learn how to deal with the meta. Another recommendation that I have would be being open to suggestions. So say if you've got a deck and it's not winning, or maybe it is doing well, but it's just not to the level that you want it to be, and someone else recommends doing something to your deck, be open to listening to them. Because if you're not open to suggestions from others, then you're not going to grow at all. So you may not like what someone has to say about your deck, but if they've got, you know, something that adds to your deck and you've not tried it yet, but it could potentially help your deck, give it a shot. You know, all you can do is put it in there, see what happens with it, and if you don't like it, take it out and then play it a different way. So I feel that being open to suggestions from decks suggestions from other people on your deck will help you to grow. I myself have to be open to suggestions as well. I firmly believe in this, because if you don't, you're not going to grow. You'll play your same deck the same one way every single time. So be a little bit open to suggestions, and if you guys watch the channel, you'll see that, you know, I've done deck profiles on the Red Eyes deck like 3 times already. So it just means it's changing. I'm being open to making it different, and you should do the same even with your favorite deck, because there might be things that others see, you know, looking from the outside, that might help your deck be a little better. So be open to it. With this game being as competitive as it is, one thing that you're going to encounter is a loss and being defeated, which there's nothing wrong with. So you have to expect defeat, but not allow yourself to be overcome by defeat. So you're going to win some duels, you're going to lose some duels. Just don't lose a duel and then just think, oh my god, this is the end of the world, I'm giving this deck up, or I'm not playing this certain card because I've lost a duel or two. So you have to expect that you're going to lose some duels, and you just got to keep fighting for it. You need to be able to take your losses and learn from them so that you're not constantly losing or finding yourself getting mad because you lost. You know, losing is a part of growing. Anybody who's ever been successful at anything in life has had to lose or fail once or twice. It's going to be the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! It'll be the same way with Magic the Gathering, Force of Will, any card game. You're going to take losses no matter how good you are. So be expecting to lose every so often, but don't allow yourself to be defeated by it. Another crucial thing, in my opinion, would be playing people of all different levels. So not just playing the same people that you play all the time. You've got to be willing to get a little uncomfortable. Play some people that that you don't feel that you're as good as, or play some people that you're slightly better than. Play people of the same level as you as well. Reason being is this diversity and playing these different decks and these players that play at higher levels and sometimes lower levels than you, is you're going to grow. You're going to learn from them. You're going to be able to see what combos work and you know, find out what cards are going to work well. If you're playing people on a consistent basis that are higher level than you, you're going to learn from them. You're going to grow from them. You're going to see what they're doing, and you're going to find out how to do things similar with your deck that they're doing. So I definitely believe in playing people that are better than you. And then, you know, it never hurts to play against people that are a little bit, you know, not as good at the game as you. One, because you can teach them things, and when you're teaching them things, you're going to become a better student yourself. So when you show people, hey, this is what you can do with this deck, or this is what I do with my deck, that's going to help you become sharper with the tools that you have at your disposal. So you'll master your deck a little bit better if you're, you know, showing someone what your deck can do that maybe their deck isn't able to do. So, you know, the best teacher is an excellent student. So if you're teaching, you're going to become a student as well. Another important thing, I kind of spoke about losing, but I just kind of wanted to highlight learning from your mistakes a little bit more. The reason that I'm bringing attention to this is because if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're going to continue to make those same mistakes. So if there's one play that you're doing and you think it's great and you think it's the best thing in the world, but it never seems to work in real competition, it's time for you to give up that combo or find a workaround or find a better way to make it happen. Because if you're continually making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again without trying to change to get a different result from those mistakes, you're going to continue to do the same thing, and those losses are going to pile up, and nobody likes to lose. This is a game in which winning is fun. You can have fun while losing, of course, but if you're always the nail and someone else is the hammer, it's not going to be fun. So learn from those mistakes that you make, learn better combos, find out what you're doing wrong from other people. I'm sure if you ask people who are playing similar decks to you how they make certain plays work or get a certain board established, they'll be willing to teach you. So learn from the mistakes that you're making. Don't continue to make them. Don't continue to allow yourself to be a victim to your own misplays, basically. So learn from your mistakes. One thing that I like to do in my spare time when there are, when there is content available, is I would say watching duel videos online. I'm not a big fan of watching Dev Pro Duels or Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Duels online. I prefer watching the live duels with people playing with cards that they've actually invested and spent money on. I like watching the ARG tournaments online, and when Yu-Gi-Oh's got the Konami sponsored events going on, I like watching those events live, or even if I'm at work and I miss the live events, I'll go back and watch them after the fact. Reason being is if you're watching these matchups online, you're watching people at the highest level playing with current decks, and they're going to be able to teach you things just by you watching these plays. You might find combos that you didn't know existed, or find that one card that someone has used to propel themselves to a higher level that could help your deck out. So I'm a strong believer in watching duel videos on YouTube. So, you know, I've got the preference of live duels. I won't watch an online duel, like with an online simulator, just because it's boring to me. I don't like it whatsoever. Whatever floats your boat. Watch other people playing that you may not encounter on a daily basis. Watch those high-level players. Watch people that you've never met play the game, because you won't be biased towards a duel. You're gonna see combos out there. You're gonna see plays. You're gonna see cards being used that you might not see used at your locals or in regular matchups that you're playing against. So definitely invest a little time in watching the online duels, just because you're gonna learn from those, and you're gonna see entertainment, period. I mean, it's entertaining to watch a good duel. Who doesn't like seeing a good duel? So you might as well learn from it in the process. One of the things that I think leads to biggest disappointments with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot of us would like to think that the decks that we compile every single time are going to be just overpowering and overwhelming to our opponent. It's time for us to get real with ourselves. We need to be realistic with our expectations of the decks that we're building. We need to know that, possibly Light Sworns aren't going to beat everything in this format, or, your random card deck is not going to win your matchups all the time for you. So when you're building a deck, you need to understand at what level your deck is going to be played at. If you're making a deck for fun, you need to realize that it's going to be a fun deck, and that if you might take it to your locals and you're playing against people that may compete in some of the ARG and the YCSs, they're probably going to beat your deck. You just need to set that expectation, which there's nothing wrong with making a fun, creative deck. I like to make a lot of casual decks myself. As a matter of fact, I've got a pile of decks just sitting next to me that I know are never going to win a tournament for me, but I like to play them against friends and, non-competitive duel situations. But you need to have those expectations. I know my Heroes deck is not going to top my locals, or, the Dark Magician deck that I've got built that I don't have the Dark Illusion stuff in yet is not going to win a tournament. So we need to just know that you're not going to win those tournaments when you're making these kinds of decks. If you're making a deck, like say from the GX or the 5Ds era, just because you like that deck, know that it just may only be a fun deck, and there's nothing wrong with a deck being a fun deck. But I think, and I see it a lot of times online, you'll see people post their deck list or cards that they've got in their deck, and it may not be the greatest deck in the world, but in their mind they think it's a great deck. There's nothing wrong with you being proud of what you made, but if you know that it's not going to be meta defining and you lose to someone that's playing, Monarchs, which a lot of decks lose to, the Monarch player is probably going to beat you. You need to expect that. So don't show up to your locals expecting to, sweep everybody with, just a random deck. Just know what your limits are, know what your expectations are, and you'll find yourself being less disappointed if you kind of know what your deck is going to be all about when you make it. Alright, another big one with the game. This game is not the cheapest hobby or game to invest in. It's something that's always going to be taking some of our money. Konami and all the vendors that we spend money with, they're getting our money. And it's not a bad thing. This is a game that we chose. I hate when players complain about money with the game. And, there are some expensive cards, and I'll even tell you guys there's cards I'm not going to buy just because it's not worth it. But a lot of it comes down to choosing how you invest in the game. So you might buy a card that you like from the TV show, or just because you think it's a cool looking card, but when you make those decisions to buy those cards, you need to realize that, maybe that $20 card that you want, you've invested $5 on this card that you just like, and it's just going to sit in your binder. That could have been $5 towards that $20 card that you're going to actually use in a deck. So constantly buying, $4 booster pack after $4 booster pack after $4 booster pack after $4 booster pack, maybe instead of spending the money on those booster packs or those cards that you think are cool, you can invest them in those cards that actually will work in your deck. You guys have probably noticed there's been a slowdown in my videos on pack openings, and it's not because I don't enjoy the pack openings, but there are certain cards that I want to get that I'm going to invest in. And investing your money in these cards is, you've got to make the choices to either invest it wisely on cards that are going to be functional or cards that are going to stick around that you can use in multiple formats and multiple decks versus getting that one card from GX that you just really like that's super expensive, or maybe not even super expensive, but spending the $3, the $5, or the $10 is going to take away from you achieving that goal of that $20 or $30 card. So be wise with your investments, or else you'll find yourself after you've spent that $10 still going, man, I still need $20 towards card X, and you don't have card X. So just be selective with how you spend your money on the game and how you're trading for cards. Make sure that when you're investing a certain amount of money into the game that you're going to be satisfied with the investment that you've made, or else you will find yourself being disappointed because you spent money, or you don't have money for the card because you did other things with that money. The last real bullet point that I've got for you guys is be yourself and have fun. I know I had some things on this list that may not have been the most nicest things on the list, like, you know, being realistic with yourself and things like that. But most importantly, you have to make that decision that when you're playing this game that you're gonna have fun and that you're gonna be yourself. If you find yourself playing the game and you're only concerned about winning, and you know you're gonna do whatever it takes to win, and you lose sight of who you are or why you got into the game, then you're not gonna have fun no matter what. Even if you're getting wins, you're gonna have a certain amount of emptiness to you if you're not being yourself. So, you know, I still love Red Eyes Black Dragon decks, as all of you know, and at the moment it's not a deck that's super great, but I still play that deck if I'm not in my tournament matches, and you know, I've taken it to locals as my main deck. But if I find the opportunity to duel with that deck, I'm going to duel with that particular deck. So even though I have Cosmo as like my most second favorite deck, even though it's the deck that I play the most, just because I'm a smart man and I know that it's the better deck of the two, and I prefer to get the wins at the tournament, and it's still a fun interactive deck, I prefer my Red Eyes deck still. So I'm still who I am. I still love Red Eyes. I still appreciate older cards. I love talking about the game. You know, most importantly, you just have to be yourself. That's going to be the key to you enjoying anything in life. If you let someone else's opinion define who you are, or you get too caught up in wins or money, things like that, you're not going to truly enjoy yourself. So really be who you were born to be and bring your personality to the game. And if you do that, most of all, you're going to enjoy yourself. So these are just a few tips that I had. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any other suggestions or things to offer to players. I think this was a video that I truly enjoyed making, and I just want to help other people enjoy the game as much as I'm able to enjoy the game, because I love this game. I don't really have much negative to say about this game, but you guys will get a video from me on pet peeves or things that I dislike with the game. But hopefully you guys enjoy yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Thank you.